Well, Bill and Sade, accepting a plea agreement would mean that Shawn Combs would have to admit to trafficking and force. And today he made it very clear that was not going to happen. Diddy maintained all along these encounters involved consenting adults and plans to take his chances that a jury agrees.
He built an empire from scratch, turned his name into a global brand, and danced at the center of fame, fortune, and luxury. But now, everything he's ever touched is under threat of collapse. Shawn "Diddy" Combs, the mogul who once claimed the charts and the boardrooms, now finds himself standing on the edge of a legal abyss so deep, even his fortune might not be enough to pull him back. This isn't just another celebrity lawsuit. It's not a tabloid scandal that fades after a few headlines. This is federal court, and the charges leveled against him could dismantle decades of power and prestige in a matter of weeks. 5 felony counts, possible life in prison, asset seizures, including his homes, his cars, even the masters of his music.
Difficult to reflect on the darkest times in your life, but sometimes you gotta do that. I was fucked up. I hit rock bottom, but I make no excuses. My behavior on that video is inexcusable. I take full responsibility for my actions in that video.
But behind the legal jargon and high-stakes courtroom drama lies something even darker, a pattern of alleged manipulation, secrecy, and control that prosecutors say ran through his entire career like a hidden wire. From NDAs to encrypted chats, from glamorous parties to sealed settlements. This case isn't just about what happened in public, but what was happening in the shadows while the world watched the stage lights. What's at stake here is more than just a verdict. It's the unraveling of a carefully curated image. And what's coming next might be more shocking than anyone expected. For decades, Diddy wasn't just a name in hip-hop. He was hip-hop, a master of reinvention, business savvy, and raw ambition. He turned a Harlem hustle into a billion-dollar legacy. From launching Bad Boy Records to shaping the careers of Biggie, Mace, and Faith Evans, to building empires in fashion, liquor, television, and even cable news, Diddy crafted a public persona rooted in success and swagger. Every move felt calculated, every brand collaboration strategic. He wasn't just an artist, he was a mogul, the kind of figure who could turn a party into a movement and a remix into a cultural moment. His stage names changed like fashion trends: Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, Shawn John, Love, but his power remained constant. He dated chart-topping artists, walked red carpets with presidents, and gave millions to black colleges and hurricane relief funds.
I'm disgusted. I was disgusted then when I did it, I'm disgusted now. I went and I sought out professional help. Had to go into therapy and go into rehab. Had to ask God for his mercy and grace.
To the outside world, he was untouchable, a blueprint for black excellence, business dominance, and celebrity charisma. But behind the velvet ropes and platinum records, whispers had been circulating for years. There were quiet legal settlements, cryptic tweets, and stories that surfaced and vanished just as quickly. Still, none of it ever seemed to stick. His fame created a shield, one made of success, money, and public goodwill. But that shield was starting to crack, and while the music played on, a slow storm was forming just out of sight, gathering names, evidence, and a quiet determination from federal prosecutors who believed that behind all the luxury, something much more sinister was at play. What started as background noise would soon become a deafening roar. When the federal indictment finally dropped, it didn't just shake the industry, it sent a shockwave through pop culture, revealing a legal grenade years in the making. Prosecutors weren't playing games. They came armed with 5 serious felony charges, each one tied to a narrative of long-running manipulation, interstate misconduct, and calculated control. At the core of it were accusations of transporting individuals across state lines under false pretenses, allegedly luring them with promises of music video roles, modeling gigs, or industry connections, only to be trapped in situations prosecutors claim were far from consensual. But what truly elevated the stakes wasn't just the nature of the charges, it was the way the case was structured. Federal agents framed it as an exploitation enterprise, the kind of organized setup you'd normally associate with racketeering or cartel operations. This wasn't about a single moment, they said. It was about a system, a pattern, a years-long orchestration of flights, hotels, cash payments, luxury perks, and psychological control designed to maintain silence and submission. They painted a picture of a powerful man hiding a predatory network behind layers of corporate fronts, high-end gifts, and airtight NDAs.
I'm so sorry. But I'm committed to be a better man each and every day. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm truly sorry.
Everything from bad boy touring to shell companies and unnamed assistants was allegedly used to support the machine. The documents detailed strategic manipulation, cross-referenced with travel logs, bank transfers, and even private jet itineraries. According to the U.S. Attorney's Office, the goal wasn't just personal pleasure, it was profit, image control, and dominance. And with potential sentences stretching into life behind bars, they made it clear. This wasn't just an arrest, it was an attempt to dismantle the entire legacy. Diddy didn't just wake up facing prison time, he woke up staring down the full force of the federal government. The prosecution didn't just file charges, they came with a mountain of receipts. According to court filings, federal agents spent over a year quietly building their case, digging through sealed lawsuits, encrypted messages, and digital paper trails that prosecutors claim map out a years-long pattern of behavior. They're bringing 48 digital exhibits, 31 physical items, and nearly 900 pages of financial records into court, all meant to show a pattern of control, not consent. At the heart of their strategy is a simple but chilling claim that what looked like luxury was actually leverage. Private jets, ritzy hotels, exclusive parties, each one, prosecutors argue, played a role in Diddy's alleged scheme. They say rideshare receipts, flight logs, and hotel key scans place victims at specific locations during specific nights. Locations that match claims made by accusers who say they were moved across state lines under the guise of work or romance, only to find themselves isolated and powerless. They've subpoenaed hotel security logs from Vegas, Miami, and LA, and even facial recognition data tied to guest lists and nightclub cameras. One of the most controversial pieces, a now infamous 2016 hotel surveillance video allegedly showing Diddy involved in a disturbing altercation with singer Cassie Ventura, evidence the defense fought to keep out, but the judge ruled admissible, and that's just the surface. Forensic accountants say they traced over $30 million in suspicious payments labeled as consulting fees to individuals with no actual service contracts. Prosecutors claim it's hush money in disguise. There are also encrypted Signal and WhatsApp chats, screenshots of alleged threats, and even metadata from NDA documents. They argue these weren't isolated moments, they were calculated efforts to maintain silence and obedience. The prosecution is betting that when this evidence is laid out, jurors won't see fame and success. They'll see strategy, exploitation, and intent.
Last hearing before Shawn Combs' trial starts, when he walked into federal court today, he appeared to be looking for his family. They've pretty much been at all of the hearings that I've been to, but there was no presence of his sons or his mother or his sister who had previously been at those hearings.
Just when the case seemed saturated with scandal, a familiar name resurfaced and instantly reignited the fire. Cassie Ventura, the singer and former longtime partner of Diddy, had already reached a private settlement in a civil suit last year, one that was quickly sealed and left the public guessing. But now, her name is back, this time tied to a federal subpoena that could flip the entire trial on its head. Prosecutors made it clear, if necessary, she'll be called for rebuttal testimony, meaning anything she says in court could directly challenge the defense's narrative of innocence and consent. And even more explosive is the resurfacing of a 2016 hotel surveillance video. Grainy, silent, but deeply unsettling. In it, Diddy is allegedly seen chasing Cassie down a hallway, grabbing and throwing objects at her. The clip, which spread like wildfire online before the court even ruled on its admissibility, is now officially part of the prosecution's arsenal. While the defense claims it's being taken out of context, the video delivers a gut punch of visual proof that words can't easily erase. It's short, but it's powerful, and jurors won't forget it. Prosecutors argue it offers a rare glimpse behind the curtain, a candid moment that reveals the pressure and aggression hidden beneath the glamour. But it's not just about one video or one woman. Cassie's return sends a broader message that the silence surrounding Diddy's world is breaking, and people once bound by loyalty or fear are now stepping forward. Her appearance in this trial, even as a potential witness, adds a layer of credibility the prosecution is hungry for. It turns a once dismissed rumor mill into something very real, very visual, and very damning. And if Cassie testifies, her words won't just be about the past. They could set the tone for everything that follows, because once the image cracks, the whole empire risks collapse. As the trial loomed, the courtroom wasn't the only place heating up. Behind the scenes, the witness list was quietly growing, and what started as a handful of names quickly turned into a potential avalanche. Court documents officially list 3 main accusers, each referred to only by their initials, but prosecutors have confirmed that at least 8 more individuals are lined up to testify, some under pseudonyms to protect their identities. What they have in common—
So here's what came out of today's hearing. Number 1, the government acknowledged that they offered Combs a plea deal. Combs acknowledged he has no interest in taking that. They're going to move forward with the trial.
According to the prosecution, is a shared story of being promised opportunity but delivered exploitation. Some were allegedly scouted at nightclubs, told they'd be featured in music videos, modeling campaigns, or even brought into the bad boy circle, only to find themselves trapped in situations where they felt manipulated, monitored, or worse. But it's not just former partners stepping forward. 2 of Diddy's own bodyguards have reportedly flipped, granted immunity in exchange for their testimony. One claims he was part of a red code protocol at private events where phones were confiscated and guests were screened before entry, events that prosecutors now describe as high-end traps. The other bodyguard says he hand-delivered envelopes stuffed with cash to obscure drop-off points around the country, payments he was allegedly told to make without asking questions. Both men, according to legal filings, are expected to testify in open court. Prosecutors believe their insider knowledge adds a layer of credibility that will be hard to shake. And while the defense is already calling them disgruntled ex-employees with axes to grind, the impact of multiple testimonies with overlapping timelines could be devastating. Together, these witnesses represent a coordinated front, one that threatens to drown out claims of innocence with first-hand stories of coercion, deception, and control. The jury won't just hear from outsiders, they'll hear from people who were inside the rooms, behind the scenes, and in the shadows of Diddy's empire. And that's exactly what the government wants. Not just accusations, but voices. Voices that once unheard are now echoing through the courtroom.
Talked about the jury selection process, which one legal expert I spoke to said is probably the most important thing that you want to pay close attention to before the actual trial starts.
While the prosecution builds a fortress of allegations, Diddy's defense is swinging back with force. And they're not just denying the charges, they're attacking the entire narrative from the ground up. His lead attorney, Benjamin Brafman, one of the most high-profile criminal defense lawyers in the country, insists that the government's case is nothing more than a patchwork of rumors, bitter ex-employees, and twisted consensual relationships repackaged as crimes. According to Brafman, the lavish lifestyle that prosecutors claim was used for manipulation was simply the normal backdrop of celebrity life, a world of jets, NDAs, VIP treatment, and power dynamics that might look shady to outsiders but are standard behind closed doors in the entertainment industry. The defense is portraying the accusers as opportunists, people who were once close to Diddy, who enjoyed the perks of proximity, and who are now looking for payouts or revenge after relationships soured. They've pointed to friendly messages, thank you notes, and career requests allegedly sent by the same people now accusing him, painting a picture of gratitude, not fear, and they're bringing their own experts to back it up. Music industry veterans who will testify that NDAs, cash settlements, and private travel arrangements are just part of doing business. One sealed document submitted by the defense even includes text exchanges where a woman thanks Diddy for changing her life and asks for extra spending money, evidence they claim proves mutual consent. But the courtroom is not about lifestyle, it's about law, and prosecutors argue that what the defense calls standard practice is, in this case, systematic exploitation. Still, Brafman remains confident. He says the timelines don't match, the evidence is circumstantial, and that the government is leaning on spectacle because the facts are thin. According to him, this isn't a legal case, it's a trial by public opinion, powered by old grudges and viral outrage. But if he's wrong, and if the prosecution's version sticks, Diddy won't just lose a case, he'll lose everything.
And thirdly, we learned that Combs will be adding 2 new attorneys to his defense team. And just to recap, Combs, who is 55 years old, could spend the rest of his life behind bars if convicted on sex trafficking and racketeering. He has pleaded not guilty to all charges.
The moment jury selection began, the trial shifted from a looming threat to a full-blown public event. Part legal showdown, part media circus. Reporters flooded the courthouse steps. Protesters with bold signs demanding justice clashed with diehard fans playing throwback bad boy hits on portable speakers. Inside, however, the mood was far from nostalgic. Diddy, suited in navy wool and rimless glasses, entered through a private tunnel, granted permission to wear civilian clothes instead of the standard jail uniform. A subtle privilege in a process designed to strip power. The courtroom was tense, but not without surreal moments. Judge Arun Subramanian opened proceedings with a joke about Diddy's ever-changing list of stage names, briefly breaking the tension before dropping the hammer on scheduling, evidence disputes, and last-minute witness conflicts. Jury selection alone became a labyrinth, with a 120-question form digging into every potential juror's social media habits, exposure to celebrity scandals, and personal beliefs about power, consent, and fame. It became clear almost instantly, finding 12 unbiased people who hadn't already formed an opinion would be a trial of its own. Security was ramped up. Marshals walked juror candidates through side entrances to avoid the swelling crowd outside. Sketch artists, not cameras, documented the proceedings, reminding everyone that despite the headlines, this was still federal court, where silence often says more than spectacle. Inside, the prosecution laid out its witness strategy in quiet confidence. More than 20 individuals from all corners of Diddy's world, ex-employees, charter flight crews, even doctors. Their goal? To strip away the brand and show the man. The defense, meanwhile, tried to slow the avalanche, pushing back against new evidence introduced after the March raids on Diddy's homes in LA and Miami. But the judge wasn't having it. No stalling, no special treatment. As the first names were read aloud, a hush fell over the room. The empire that once echoed with applause was now dead silent, watching as strangers were chosen to decide the fate of a man who once ruled the airwaves. And this was just the beginnings. Even before a single verdict is read, the damage is already undeniable. Diddy's carefully constructed empire, once an unshakable fortress of music, fashion, media, and cultural influence, is bleeding from every side. His once lucrative liquor partnership with Diageo is terminated.
I'm going to try and say that Diddy's mental capacity could not make it possible for him to commit these crimes, claiming that maybe drugs or alcohol could have been at fault.
Revolt Media, the company he once proudly founded to elevate black voices, is now under temporary management as advertisers quietly pull out. Spotify slapped warning banners across his catalog, and streams of his music dropped by over 12% in April alone. His fashion label, Shawn shelved its upcoming summer line with no new date in sight. Meanwhile, federal agents have seized hard drives, financial records, and surveillance footage from multiple properties, and the IRS has launched a parallel investigation into unreported income tied to what prosecutors are calling exclusive events, a quiet nod to the notorious freak-off parties that former insiders claim were far more than private celebrations. A staggering $140 million in property and music assets are now at risk, including his Beverly Hills estate, his Long Island mansion, and the masters to his Bad Boy Records catalog. If convicted, Diddy faces not only life in prison, but the total dismantling of his financial and creative legacy. The court has already ruled that new civil settlements must be filed under seal, a move designed to prevent witness intimidation and avoid swaying the jury. His legal team continues to argue that the case is built on distorted narratives and financial motives, but the weight of evidence is stacking up fast. Prosecutors are preparing to introduce facial recognition data, rideshare receipts, flight plans, and encrypted messages as they build what they call an airtight pattern of behavior. Behind closed doors, even more pressure is mounting. 2 of his bodyguards flipping, industry insiders lining up to testify, and sealed testimony reportedly hinting at even more names that could be dragged into the storm. And as this legal machine roars forward, the world watches a legacy unravel in real time. Whether he walks free or not, the image of Diddy as an untouchable icon has already fractured. The question now isn't just whether he's guilty, but whether there's anything left to save when it's all over. What we're witnessing isn't just a trial, it's a collapse. A dismantling of a legacy that once felt too big to touch, too loud to silence, and too powerful to fall. Diddy, who once stood as a symbol of reinvention and resilience, now stands in a federal courtroom where none of his accolades matter. The suits, the hits, the headlines, they can't speak for him anymore. Now, it's the evidence that talks. The jury will have to decide whether this was a man misunderstood, living large in a world where excess is the norm, or whether it was all a carefully constructed mask hiding years of coercion, control, and calculated damage. And while the courtroom decides his legal fate, the public is left to grapple with something more complicated. How do we separate the icon from the individual? Can an artist's contribution survive the weight of their alleged crimes? As the trial unfolds, more layers will be stripped back, more secrets dragged into the light. But one thing is already clear: this case is redefining the conversation around celebrity power, accountability, and what justice looks like when fame is no longer a shield. Whether Diddy walks out of that courthouse a free man or not, the world he returns to won't be the one he left. The empire may still stand for now, but the foundation is cracking, and the final verdict won't just come from a judge or jury, it'll come from all of us watching. So what do you think? Is this the fall of a king, or the rise of something we've ignored for far too long?